Alright, so, excuse my voice, guys. It's kind of dying, so I'm sorry if it's all gravelly. Last time we did converting numbers from standard form into scientific notation, and then from scientific notation form into standard form. We also did multiplying in scientific notation and dividing in scientific notation. So today, we're going to take this one step farther and do adding and subtracting in scientific notation. So the key thing to remember is that addition and subtraction only works if the tens are the same power. So right here, our powers of 10 have to be the exact same. So lucky for us, our first example, both of these are 10 to the power of 5, which makes our job a heck of a lot easier. So what we're going to do is first add our two constants together. So we're going to write 3.769, and then we're going to add that to 4.21. Now, if you're going to be adding it by hand, you better make sure you line it up like I'm doing, or else you're going to get super confused. So right here, there's nothing here, so I'm going to put a 0. So then 9 plus 0 is 9. 6 plus 1 is 7. 7 plus 2 is 9. Bring down the decimal. 3 plus 4 is 7. Now that we have those two added together, we're going to take our power and multiply it by our constant. So times 10 to the power of 5. And there you go. So I'm going to rewrite this so it's a little easier to see. So 7.979 times 10 to the power of 5. And that's your final answer. So this part shouldn't be too hard. As long as your tens are of the same power, okay, like these two, then you'll be fine and it'll be super easy. This is the same thing for if we're subtracting. So, lucky for us, this next example, our tens are to the same power, -2. So, we can go ahead and subtract our constants. I'm going to take 8.14, and then I'm going to minus 2.01 from that number. Now, just make sure you're noticing this very first number always goes on top, and the second number always goes on the bottom. Make sure you do it in order. Okay, so 4 minus 1 is 3. 1 minus 0 is 1. Bring down the decimal. 8 minus 2 is 6. Then, just as I said before, we're going to bring down our power of 10. So times 10 to the power of -2. There you go. So, now I'm going to rewrite this. So 6.13 times 10 to the power of -2. Alright. Now you know the basics. Adding and subtracting scientific notation. Now remember, this is how it works if they have the same power. So, what happens if your tens are not of the same power? Okay, like this example here, we have 7.58 times 10.5, or 10 to the power of 5, and then 2.871 times 10 to the power of 6. 5 and 6 are obviously not the same number, so we can't just add these. What we need to do is either make the 5 into a 6, or make the 6 into a 5. Now in your notes, I kind of already set it up for you. On your homework, you can pick either number to change. It really doesn't matter. Just pick one and stick with it. So for our note's sake, we're going to do this number first. So we need to make the 5 into a 6. So the only way to make a 5 into a 6 is to add 1 to it. Okay? Now, I wrote this up here just so you can remember it, okay? If we're adding 1, okay, adding an exponent, that means we're moving to the left. So we need to move our decimal to the left 1 space. So we're going to have 0.758. My decimal is really bad, I'm sorry. 0.758 times 10. Remember 5 plus 1 is 6. So 10 to the power of 6. Now, my powers are the same. So now I can go ahead and add these. So I'll have 0.758 plus 2.871. So 8 plus 1 is 9. 7 plus 5 is 12. Carry the 1. 8 plus 7 plus 1 is 16. Carry the 1. Bring down the decimal. 1 plus 2 is 3. Then just like before, we bring down our power. So times 10 to the power of 6. There you go. So this one isn't too much harder. There's only one extra step. So we have 3.629 times 10 to the power of 6. And that's your final answer. So that's how we're going to add these two together. Now we're going to subtract two scientific notation numbers with different powers. So we have 10 to the power of negative 8 and 10 to the power of negative 10. So again, you can just pick one, doesn't matter. We're going to do this one so it matches our notes. So I'm going to need to make a negative 10 into a negative 8. So I'm going to add 2 to make that into a negative 8. Now remember, from up here, adding exponents means that I'm going to be moving my decimal to the left. So I'm going to be moving it to the left 2 times. Okay? So you're going to be left with 0.0572. Sorry, it's not reading my stylus. 0.0572. There we go. And then times 10 to the power of negative 8. Alright. Now that we have the same powers, we can go ahead and subtract these. So 2.9785 minus 0.0572. 5 minus 2 is 3. 8 minus 7 is 1. 7 minus 5 is 2. 9 minus 0 is 9. Bring down the decimal. This is technically 0, so 2 minus 0 is 2. And then same as before, just bring down our power. So times 10 to the power of negative 8. There you go. So final answer is 2.9213 times 10 to the power of negative 8. Right? Okay, now you know how to add and subtract with the same powers and add and subtract with the different powers. Now there's one more example, and that's what if your final answer isn't in scientific notation? Now remember, scientific notation has a constant that's between 1 and 10, and then a power of 10. So you need to remember that your constant has to be equal to or greater than 1 and less than 10. So it has to be between 1 and 10. So, first, so we can see what we're dealing with, we need to not add. This is supposed to be subtract. We need to subtract our two numbers together. So, take our constants. So 4.86, and we're going to minus 4.72. So 6 minus 2 is 4. 8 minus 7 is 1. Bring down the decimal. 4 minus 4 is 0. Then I bring down our powers. So times 10 to the power of 3. Now notice 0.14 is not between 1 and 10. So this is not in scientific notation. We don't like it. So before we can find our final answer, we have to make this into scientific notation. So I'm going to recopy my answer down. So 0.14 times 10 to the power of 3. Now, I need to make this between 1 and 10, so I'm going to need to move my decimal over once to the right. Remember, moving it to the right means that we are going to subtract exponents. So, there we go. Okay. So I move this over once to the right, so we're going to subtract only 1. So we're going to have 1.4 times 10 to the power of 2. There you go. That's our final answer. 1.4 times 10 to the power of 2. Or 1.4 times 10 squared. And there you go. That's your final answer. Now, you know how to add and subtract when the powers of 10 are the same, add and subtract when the powers of 10 are different, and what to do if your final answer is not in scientific notation. So you can go ahead and rewind this video, watch it again if you need to. Make sure you have all these notes copied down and keep them in a safe place. Then make sure you listen to the sub, do the worksheets they ask you to do. Some of them will be due before the end of the period, so make sure you turn those in on time, and then make sure you finish your homework by next time. I'll answer any questions about this next time before we correct, but you have to at least try this. Alright, I guess that's it. Bye, Felicias.